Yo, it's me, CSCOTT baby. And welcome to the all-new Angel Retrospective. I'm doing this season by season this time instead of episode by episode. It's going to be easier for me. And we're starting with season 1, of course. Now, just a reminder, just a little something to let you know. A reminder to let you know that I don't watch every episode in this season. I watch the important ones. Because, as I was watching episode... I was continuing where I left off. And I was watching episode 5. And I started episode 5 and I was sitting there. And I started talking to myself. Thinking, how would I start the review? How would I tell? And I started by telling the story about how I got the season's bottom, which I will get to. And then I just started moving on to the show. And I sat there. And I stopped in the middle. I'm like, I could do this without even watching any of this. And then I realized there were some episodes, important ones, that I needed to rewatch so I could get the stuff right. So, the episodes I watched, important information, I watched the first 4 episodes, of course, And then I watched Hero, I Will Remember You, Hero, Parting Gifts. And I skipped ahead to 5x5, Sanctuary, and I watched all 3 episodes in the last 3 discs, Warzone, Blind Date, and Tushanshu in LA. So those are the important ones, especially when you're in the last run-up. So, yeah. Okay. So, before I start the actual show, I want to tell you how I got into it. So, we had a shop go over here. It closed a little while back. But a few years ago, around the time I first moved out here, maybe within a year after I first moved out here into my own place, I have an abundance of DVDs and Blu-rays now, but when I moved out here, that wasn't the case. And I wanted to get more TV shows, which I think one of these days I'm going to have to gather up all my TV shows and do one big TV show video. So, we'll see. I have a lot. But, yeah, but I was looking at Shopko, they had this shelf. And at the time, they had TV shelves and stuff for TV shows and movies. They changed things a while later, but they had this shelf in the back by the toys that had a bunch of TV seasons. Angel, Buffy, Millennium, X-Files, I think, just a bunch of stuff. And I saw Angel, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to buy season 1, and I'm going to check it out. See what it's like. Because it's interesting. And having not seen anything from Buffy, well, that's not true. A few years before that, I think I rented season 4 of Buffy from the library. And I guess I couldn't get into it because I don't remember watching much of it. I remember the first part of episode 1 where they're walking in the graveyard, talking about college. And that's the only thing I remember. So I bought this, season 1. And then as I was watching, I got halfway through this, and I'm like, you know what? I got enough money to go back. I'm going to buy season 2. And I did. And so I watched the first 2 seasons. And when I got paid again, I went back and I bought season 5. Yes, I know. I don't buy... I have a story about Smallville when I start doing that one, but I have a thing where I don't buy seasons. Now I try to do the thing where I buy, if they're available, the entire series, or 2 seasons at a time in order. That's kind of my thing. Or if there's movies, I have this thing where I have to buy every movie in a franchise. I have a collection, or if they have multiple there, But at this point, I was doing out of order. So I bought season 1, then season 2, then I bought season 5 because Spike was in it. And he was in an episode of season 1 I thought was cool. And then I at one point I bought season 6 of Buffy. And I liked Spike in that. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to get season 5 of Angel. And I bought that. Eventually I bought all the seasons of Buffy, but Angel was first. Then I bought season 4 because I heard Angel had a son. So I wanted to see his son. And yeah, I ordered it. So I went back to buy season 3. And they changed the shelf. I don't know if they just got rid of it and put something else in there. probably. I don't remember, different seasons or something. But it wasn't there anymore. And I was pissed because I'm like, I was finally going to get the last season I need. And I actually have a story about season 3 of Angel, which I'll get to when I do my retrospective of that season. But I looked all over the place for it. Couldn't find it. My friend calls me. Hey, they have season 3 of Angel at Walmart. So, if you don't know, there was a time, well, I'm handicapped, just so you know. I can't hold on to money. I have to have somebody, pay my bills for me. With my money, of course, but they had to take my checkbook, they'd pay my bills for me. I'm a compulsive buyer. When I first started out, I was given my checkbook, and, I was going to buy stuff from Walmart every other day. So, every other week. And so, I had to give my grandma my checkbook. And when I found out it was there, I called her and asked her if she could take me over there. I think I even said I'd walk and meet her over there. She's like, no, I can pick you up. But, because... And my excuse was, and it's a legitimate excuse, you don't know how long they're going to have it there for. I know it just popped up. My thing was, they had it at Shopko, and then it was gone when I went to get it. I don't want it to happen again. She's like, okay, I suppose. She's like, how much is it? I think it was like $15 maybe. And it's the big bulky one, which is why it looks different. For some reason, they had the gigantic version of the Angel season and not the thin ones. And they changed them again, though, because these are the ones with the things in it, season 1 there. And they changed it. Now they got them in thin. Like, you'll see when I do the Buffy ones, or do the video, the Buffy season 1 is just a regular thin case with discs in it. But yeah, and so I got them all, and I watched them out of order. 1, 2, 5, 4, 3. And then after that, I went through and I rewatched them all again in order, and it made a lot of sense. So that's how I bought the seasons of Angel. I figured this first episode would be appropriate to talk about that. So, what's the story? Well, I gotta go back. I mean, I gotta explain a little bit of Buffy, but not really. But I gotta go back before that. Back in colonial times, like the 17th century, maybe earlier. Angel was actually Liam, just your typical, guy who didn't get along with his father, and he met Darla, who was a vampire. She herself also used to be human, of course, but she had a blood disease that was killing her, and she was forced to become a vampire. I believe that's her story. I believe. And then she sires Angel, or Angelus as his name would be. And they later, they sired Drusilla, and she sires Spike, or William the Bloody, as they called him. I think it goes, Darla sired Angel sired Drusilla, and Drusilla sired Spike. I think that's how it goes. Because when Spike and Drusilla are introduced in Buffy, they're still together. And she's mentioned. I don't think she shows up in season 2, not in this season. Spike shows up in 1 episode in this season, but yeah, it's just a basic story. And one day, Darla brings a gypsy girl to Angelus, and he feeds on her. But the gypsy girl's family finds out and puts a curse on him, which gives him, the immortal vampire, a soul, which affects him greatly. And now he feels all the remorse. He feels all the pain of everyone he's ever fed off of. And he resorts to drinking the blood of rats and other animals to survive. In fact, by the time we catch up with them in Buffy, he drinks pig's blood, which is easy to obtain from butcher shops and stuff. And I'm not going to go into spoilers about Buffy, but he does come across Buffy. Stuff happens. Something happens at the end of season 2 that causes a rift between them in season 3. And by the end of season 3, he leaves and goes to LA. And that's where Angel picks up from. And he's on his own. He's got his own little new place. And he gets contacted by Doyle, who's a half human, half demon, who gets these visions given to him by the powers that be, and he comes to Angel saying that there's someone that's in trouble. And they go to this party, and to find this woman, and they meet Cordelia, who was also on Buffy, but after the graduation episode in season 3, she went to LA to become a movie star. Although her acting gigs range from like soap commercials and detergent commercials and stuff like that she does. I don't think she ever actually gets cast in any prominent roles, really. And that kind of goes away anyway. Sort of after season 2, when she starts just working with the team. But, yeah. And Doyle happens to have a thing for Cordelia, but he doesn't want her to know that he's half demon, because she's very shallow, and that's Cordy. Yeah, and that's basically the pilot. The pilot, while being a pilot of a show, gives us a lot of exposition. Like, it introduces us to the main villain of the series before they're even prominent. As there's this guy, this Russell something, who is a vampire feeding on young women wanting to be stars, and that's where Cordelia comes in. He tries to go after Cordelia, and while the guy escapes, Angel shows up at a board meeting where he meets Lindsay McDonald, who is a lawyer from Wolfram and Hart, who will be the overarching villain for almost the entire series. And the Wolfram and Hart will be not Lindsay. And Lindsay McDonald is played by Christian Kane, which is... I followed his career somewhat. I watched him on Angel and Leverage, The Librarians. He was in an episode of Supernatural recently. I've listened to his country music album, which is pretty good. But yeah, and I do like this exchange that they have in the first episode, where he tells Angel that his client will not be charged for anything, and basically telling Angel nothing he can do about it. And then Angel kicks the vampire guy out the window. And there's an exchange later in the season. It goes back to this, but kicks him out the window. His vampire, he turns to dust before it even lands. The chair goes on the sidewalk on the outside. Angel just walks out. That's the end of episode 1, really. It also establishes that three of them are going to work together and call it Angel Investigations. The next episode, I'm not going to go by each episode, but they're just important stuff. Next episode, Lonely Heart introduces Detective Kate Lockley, who is at a bar during this. This episode deals with a parasitic demon that goes from body to body. That's not really important. But we introduce the character of Kate Lockley here, and she gets suspicious of Angel, but he tells her he's a private investigator, and they work together on certain cases. And this is sort of how he gets his information, although there is an episode. Let's see. I think it's after. I have to get to. Okay, yeah, we have to go. There's more stuff with Kate later in the season that we'll get to. But there's other stuff with Doyle that explains his backstory. He was married to a woman who is getting remarried, and according to the guy's a demon, according to his what do you call them? Ritual, or like, you celebrate Easter every year. You celebrate Christmas, your annual tradition that says that they have to eat the ex-husband before they get married. I don't know, but that doesn't happen, of course. And we get a culmination of Doyle's arc in episode 9. But first we have I Will Remember You, which sees the return of Buffy, and it introduces a demon that if it bleeds, it has special blood, and it during the fight with Angel gets hurt, and the demon gets hurt, and some of its blood gets onto Angel's wound, and Angel becomes human. And he gets his dream. He gets to be with Buffy, what he wants. But then, one thing I forgot to mention is that Doyle brings Angel to the Oracles in the first episode. He introduces him to the Oracles, and there's sort of his contact with the powers that be in season 1. And there's a brother and sister, I believe. And yeah, so he after he becomes human, he goes to them, and they say that his journey is done. But then he finds out from the demon, the Mara demon it's called, that there are more bad things coming for him, and that the Slayer won't be able to, coming for him, coming for the Slayer, which is Buffy. And so he goes to the powers that be, and they rewind the day, and they kill the demon before it has a chance to bleed on him, so nothing ever happens, and she leaves. And so nothing that ever happened in that day actually happened. But Doyle's story arc comes to an end in Hero, which I remember when I first watched this episode, I was upset because Doyle quickly became my favorite character on the show. And I guess I didn't know the behind the scenes stuff until now. Actor Glenn Quinn was into doing drugs, and I guess it got so bad they decided to get rid of him and bring in someone else for the remainder of the season. And this guy they brought in was in the rest of the series, but this episode offers us like all the rest of the backstory for Doyle that we need. He first got the visions. He was drinking and stuff, and he didn't want to do anything. And a half human, half demon came to him because they were told to go to him, and because there is this group, the Scourge, who's come after half-blood demons. And, at the time, he didn't want nothing to do with it, so he pushes it away, and they ended up dying. Now the Scourge is back, going after another group of half-demons, and it's time for Doyle to do something about it. He gets Angel, he gets Cordy, they're going to take this thing down. But you can't beat the Scourge, whatever. They are super powerful, uber demon type things. So the best thing to have is to get these half demons out of the country. They were boat and everything. Angel even goes undercover, pretending that he wants to, as a vampire. He's a vampire, of course, but that he wants to join the Scourge. But in the end, it's a ruse. When they find out that they have this giant ball thing that has the power to kill anything with human DNA, and they kill the snitch who told them where the half demons were going to be. Half breeds, as they call them, were going to be. And so Angel hurries up to get back there, and they're all in the ship, and the Scourge show up and lower this thing, and Angel wants to sacrifice himself. But this is Doyle's story. So Doyle kicks Angel off the scaffolding thing and knocks him down. He jumps on the thing. Cordy finds out he's half demon here. So it's the culmination of his story. Everything left unsaid is said. He finds out he's half demon. They both have feelings for each other before he can ask her out. Angel shows up, and then he's like, "It's too bad. We'll never know." And he turns into the demon face. This is the face you can learn to love. He does kiss her before he does this, though, and jumps on the thing. And if you pay attention, you can see this light go from his mouth to hers, and that signifies something else we'll find out in the next episode. So he sacrificed himself. He's dead. And I was like, he can't be. Because I was going by the cast list at the beginning of this thing. It shows all 4 of them as being cast. Not realizing that Doyle dies halfway through the season. I was like, you gotta be kidding. He's gotta come back. Not really. The character's name comes back in season 5, but no, he's gone. The actor said he dies sometime during season 4, I think, is when they had in memory of. But yeah, it's a shame what drugs can do to you. The next episode, though, parting gifts. But before I move on, I do want to say that I want to give it to the producers for not, he if they've got to kick him off the show, they didn't just have him get murdered, bludgeoned, stabbed, and then that was it. They have him die heroically, finishing off his story arc in the process and doing right by the character. It was a very great way to do it. They had a very very well. I don't know. But next episode, Parting Gifts reintroduces the character of Wesley Wyndham Pryce, who was a Watcher. And the most I can say about Watchers in this series is they were in charge of vampire slayers, or potential vampire slayers, whatever. And Wesley was in charge of one named Faith. Something happened during season 3, and he gets kicked off and fired. And here, he's a rogue demon hunter, as he says. And Cordy, what's a rogue demon? My glasses. I tried to do the thing. My glasses go flying. But yeah, he's a rogue demon hunter, and Angel is at first reluctant to bring him in because of what happened to Doyle, but eventually does. There is a great scene in one of these episodes where they get in an argument, and he calls him Doyle. And then that's when Angel realizes he's got to be acting different. There's an episode after this, Somnambulist, where Kate discovers that Angel's a vampire. When a vampire from his past shows up, goes on a killing spree. One that he trained, I believe, is that episode. Is that the right one? No, the Jeremy Renner one is at the beginning of season 2. But, and then this continues and this moves on to the episode The Prodigal, where Kate's father shows up and is murdered by a vampire, and she blames Angel for it, even though it's not his fault. This puts a rift between them, and this continues to the end of the season even. We get to 5x5, which is the return of Faith, and this is basically sort of a West story as well. She's been hired by Wolfram and Hart to kill Angel. She doesn't, no questions asked, and she even kidnaps Cordelia and Wes, mostly Wes, and she has him tied up in an apartment. That leads to a fight outside in the rain between Faith and Angel that ends up with them in a hug. And then the next episode, Buffy comes to collect. And so is the Watcher Council and even Kate. And eventually he has to, this is sort of her redemption. She comes back later. Warzone introduces the character of Charles Gunn. I almost said James Gunn. Charles Gunn, who is the leader of this would-be pack of this raggedy pack of vampire hunters living in the bowels of LA. Mostly African Americans. And you gotta feel for Gunn. His sister gets turned into a vampire, and he's forced to stake her. Chop her head off, whatever. And he becomes an ally of Angel's in this episode. The episode Blind Date has Lindsay McDonald come into Angel Investigations to help save a bunch of blind children from a blind woman that knows karate. And in the end, it turns out it was all a scheme so he can get ahead in Wolfram and Hart. He kills off one of his colleagues, he gets that job, and he becomes one of the partners. And that eventually ends up costing him his hand. Because in the... also in this episode, we're going to get discs for this. Angel grabs a scroll, and he doesn't know why he grabbed it. He just knows he needed to grab it. It turns out to be the Shanshu prophecy, which West first translates to meaning that Angel is going to die. We found out that's not true. And so, in the finale to Shanshu in LA, a demon shows up for the Rising, I think it's called. And it's something Wolfram and Hart is doing. They're bringing something up from hell. And to do that, they need to first sever all the connections to the powers that be. He shows up and he puts this symbol on Cordelia that makes her feel all the pain. By the way, I forgot to mention, I'm a little ahead. The kiss that Doyle and Cordelia had, and I said there's a light between them, it gave the visions from Cordelia, or from Doyle to Cordelia. So she has the visions that tells them where to go, when they need to go, stuff like that. She's a little different in it than Doyle, as she, it's Cordelia. But in here, this messes with her visions. Symbol on her, she starts seeing all the pain of all the people in the world, and it makes her go crazy nuts, screaming. She feels all their pain, and she ends up in the hospital. Angel is putting away the scroll in a safe that he has down in his little area in his apartment building, which is also their office building. And the demon is there, but he can't really... He senses something, then he gets a phone call from the hospital and has to run to go see Cordelia. Wes shows up. And... the demon... Before this, the demon comes in, he takes the scroll and he puts a bomb, an explosive device, whatever it is, in the safe. Wes shows up, he hears the beeping, he opens the door, sees the bomb, and starts running. This is by the time that Angel comes back from the hospital, knowing he can't do anything, and sees the explosion. He runs in, yelling for Wes, even though he didn't know Wes was there. I don't know. Maybe he knew Wes was coming by. I don't know. And as you could tell, Wes was trying to leave. He was at the stairs, and he's unconscious. And he brings him in, and pushing him in on the gurney and stuff. And there's this nurse that's there, and she sees Angel, and I think this nurse has been there all night. And she looks at Angel with such a sympathetic look, like she could tell this guy's in pain. Two people that he knows and loves are in the hospital. She could tell it, and he'd see his pain. In the end, this leads to him going to Gunn to get protection for Cordelia and Wes, as Angel goes to Wolfram and Hart to get the scroll back, because they need the scroll to save Cordy, I guess. He goes to the powers that be, the oracles. They've been killed by the demon, but the female oracle is still somewhat there as a ghost, and tells him that he needs the scroll and that this demon needs to be stopped before their rising. Which is I can't remember what it's called, but the rising. They're bringing something up from hell. We find out what that is towards the end, but he goes in and he's fighting the demon, and Lindsay grabs the scroll and finishes the incantation that brings whatever it is into the box. The moves come in, they push it away, and then Lindsay tries to help the demon. The demon is killed. We see maggots on his face. The demon is killed, and then Lindsay says he's going to burn the scroll because it's foretold that they cut off his ties to the powers that be. And Angel takes this scythe and just cuts off Lindsay's hand, which is the narrative going forward in season 2 for his revenge. But that's just, and he goes, sometimes you make your own destiny. And he grabs the scroll because he's about to, and then he leaves. And then we have this gathering. Wes reads the thing and frees Cordelia from the pain. And then we cut to Cordelia's apartment, where Wes says, oops, he read it wrong. Because apparently in the dialect he was reading it in, it could mean either live or die. It doesn't mean he's going to die. It means he's going to live. The Shanshu prophecy means that he will avert the apocalypse and become human. That is his prize for averting the apocalypse. He will become human. Vampire soul will stop the apocalypse and become human. That's the prophecy. And then we cut to Wolfram and Hart, which two characters I forgot to introduce. Manners, played by Sam Anderson, and Lila, played by Stephanie Romanoff, who are also key members in this. Manners, not too important, I guess, because he doesn't last long, and they have the box. And Lindsay is there as well, with one arm. And they reveal it's Darla inside the box. The vampire who sired Angel. They brought her back. I guess I have to spoil this. She's killed in the first episode of Buffy. I have to spoil that, because you're like, okay, wait a minute. How'd she go from being alive to being in hell? She was killed in Buffy. The first episode of Buffy, I think they kill her off. So, Spoiler alert for Buffy, I guess. But as far as season 1 goes, I think it was a big ballsy move to end the season like they did. Like they put both of Angel's allies in the hospital, or his regular allies in the hospital. They've established the gun will be his ally going forward. They blew up the Angel's investigation office, so they gotta find a new one. And they've established that Wolfram and Hart means business, and they've brought something back that is Darla, and they have something up their sleeves, and that pushes the narrative in season 2. I'm not a big fan of season 2 because of the way that Angel acts in it, but I've watched it so much, I understand why this happens, and I don't know, I'll explain it when I get to season 2. Bird flew by. But yeah, season 1's not bad for season 1. Pretty good. Yeah, I'm not going to give any rating or anything, but just, yeah. So, what are your thoughts on season 1 of Angel? Let me know in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.